Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pop Go the Writers. I got a cough drop in my mouth, so it didn't do as well. Let's try the other side.
I'm worried that you're going to flick it and it's going to hit the screen or
Tonight in 3D.
Let me projectile vomit at you, folks.
Yep. So the first question is going to be, where the hell have we been? And the answer is totally my fault.
I was going to say, it's where the hell have you been?
Yeah. See, Jim could do the show, but he can't do the show without me because I have to set it up and run it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Jim would have been available the last 2 weeks, but I have been under the weather. Since about September, I've been dealing with a series of infections, and they've been trying to figure out exactly what the infection is so they can put the right antibiotic on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought we had the right one, and we've been fighting it. But then sometime in December, the infection got into my left foot and made it almost impossible for me to walk. I couldn't put any weight on my left foot, and I'm a big guy. So I've been hobbling around. I wasn't able to cook Christmas dinner. I had to get my family to actually make everything. So I just kind of coordinated I was Bradley Pitt conducting the choir or the orchestra.
Or Nero Wolfe.
Yeah, but it turned out perfect. Dinner turned out perfect. My family stepped up big. So
good.
Yeah. So, but I finally, the doctor kept trying to get me in for a CT scan. Again, I'm bigger than most CT scans can handle. So it was a real pain. But eventually he said, this will happen a lot quicker if you just go to the emergency room, and then they'll just start taking care of you. If it starts getting worse, it starts hurting, just go to the emergency room.
Yeah, sure.
So last Friday, not this one, but the one before that, I finally said to hell with it. My biggest concern was leaving my mom alone, who I kind of take care of. So Lisa was nice enough to come down and take me to the doctor, take me over to the emergency room, and stay with me through almost all of it. And then she stayed here while I was in the hospital to keep an eye on my mom. So she's just an absolute angel. Yeah, she's an absolute angel for that. Yeah. But yeah, so I was in the hospital from Friday through Tuesday, and I'm home now with the right antibiotic. I'm still walking a little gingerly, but I can get around better. I'm using my walking stick still, but it's more for balance than for keeping the weight off. There's no pain.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I came out of the hospital with a cold.
Well, of course.
Yeah. So my voice is a little deeper. Not Kevin Graveau deep, but it's getting there. But yeah,
I'm waiting for it to sound more like Christian Bale's Batman.
Yeah. It's who I am on the inside that matters.
Well, okay, it sounds like it's a definite improvement then, which is good.
Yeah.
Hey, Eddie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have the comments on right now. But hello, Ed. Ed, good to see you, buddy. So, yeah, I am back. I'll be doing my shows on the Experience this week. I will be hyping up the new Morgana Kickstarter, which has just a few days left, but it's going well. I'm very pleased with how the Kickstarter is going. We're up over 12,000. We've already hit the first 3 stretch goals, which is a free sticker, a free trading card, and then the newest one is additional pages in the book.
Wow!
So I think it's 4 or 6 new pages in the book. So I still have to write those. But
how does that? Wait, how does that work to get? Like everybody gets those extra pages, or
everybody who gets a print copy. There's also digital copies. Digital copies don't get the extra pages.
Okay, so but they're still going to get a complete story.
Yeah,
it's just literally like how do you fit in the extra pages? Do you tack it on the end, or how does that work?
I don't know yet.
No, come on, Dan. I want to know. Come on. I mean, let's figure this out right here and now.
I didn't know that was one of the options that they did, this company. So
I love it.
I'll have to come up with something.
Oh, by the way, you're going to be writing 4 extra pages.
Yeah. So
My story is complete. There's just no way I can fit. Everybody dies at the end.
yeah, I'm sure I could work something in there, but so let's talk about the book since it came up.
Yeah, please.
It's Morgana Le Fay.
Mhm.
Uh, if you guys are interested in checking it out, this is the URL to it. It is a what the heck did I just do? Huh.
I don't know what I never heard of that kind of a book.
Okay.
What the hell did I
Anyways,
just
this is Arthurian legend told from a different angle.
Mhm.
If you've read a lot of Arthurian legend, you know that it depends on who you're reading to what their take is on it. You know, like Morgana Le Fay is one of the ones that changes drastically depending on who the author is.
Sure.
Sometimes she is a descendant of the Fae, she's a fairy, part
Mhm.
fairy. In other ones, she is the half sister of Arthur.
Right.
She's the mother of Mordred. I mean, there's a lot of different takes on it, and they're not all the same. They mix and match.
Mhm.
Um, but there's also some pretty interesting things to it, like the fact that Arthur is the son of rape.
Right.
Uther Pendragon got Merlin to make him look like his enemy, and then while the enemy was out fighting Uther's forces, he
Mhm.
snuck into the castle and stripped his wife, and that begat Arthur.
As seen in the movie Excalibur.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So we always make Arthur out to be the hero, but in a
Yep.
lot of ways, Morgana should have been the rightful, if she is Uther's child, and the rightful heir to the throne.
Mhm.
So I've decided to tell the story from Morgana's point of view, but I'm doing it from the point of view that she's part Fae,
Mhm.
and that there is some links to the Celtic deities.
Okay.
And Merlin plays a part in it and stuff like that. So it's basically changing who the hero of the story is.
We are all the hero in our own story.
Yeah. Or the thing about there's three sides to every story: yours, mine, and the truth.
Right.
Yeah. So this is basically from Morgana's point of view.
Yeah.
Arthur is definitely not the hero. Merlin is not the hero. It's a very different take on Arthurian legend, like I said, from Morgana's point of view. Now, the Kickstarter is going right now. It's got about 5 days left, I think. And I'm going to be hyping it the rest of this week. I'm going to be on Talking Shop tomorrow with Miss Jen talking about it. I'm going to be doing some other promotional stuff. But I wanted to show off some of the covers.
Yeah.
Because this has got some amazing covers. Now, sadly, I'm not sure who all the artists are on these, but if you look on that webpage, they'll tell you who they are. There's also like different versions of each cover. There's the friendly version, the sexy version, and then the extreme version.
I saw one, and I remember seeing one on Facebook, which was it had to have parts covered up.
Yeah. So this is just a couple of them. But this is Ethereal Comics. Let's see. That's a pretty good one. I like that one a lot. It shows that is actually the Morrigan from Celtic mythology, who plays a role in it. We've also got this one, which is by the interior artist Renzo Rodriguez. Renzo is a guy who I've wanted to work with for a long time. We had actually talked about some books in the past, trying to come up with something we could do and pitch. And when I got the chance to do this with Ethereal, they said, "So who do you want to work with?" I said, "Can we get Renzo? Because he's really good." And Renzo was available, and so he's finishing up the book now. And this will be the first issue. We're going to continue it. It's going to be an ongoing, but it'll be each Kickstarter will be for each issue. And then Dave Ocampo is on board to color, and I've worked with Dave on a few projects, and he's fantastic. Then we have this one, which I think is pretty obvious how this can be turned into a more sexy cover.
Yes, that's the one that I saw on.
Let me take that one down so you get the full effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that background.
Oh yeah,
that's just super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have this one, which actually has Uther on the cover.
Now, who's the green girl?
She's a fae.
Okay.
So, and then we have this one. And then my personal favorite, and these are all great covers, but this is my favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I was not working on the book and I was just going to pick one to buy, it would be this one.
I like that logo.
Yeah.
Well, it's very nice. So $14.99 is like the regular retail price.
Yeah.
And how many pages is this first issue?
It's 22 pages, and now we're going to expand it to 26, I believe.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so the Kickstarter is going. Like that's the one I ordered. Cool, Ed. So, yeah, so it's going on now. Like I said, the tiny URL for Morgana Comics. Let me put that back up real quick. So, if you guys want to check it out, I would appreciate it.
Does Ethereal do all of their books as Kickstarters?
They do have 17 stores across the country that carry them directly.
They have it's 17 stores. Wow. Is that how so they're a retail?
Well, no, they're not 17 stores. There are 17 retailers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Buy directly from them.
Okay, I thought you meant that Ethereal Comics had like stores.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's 17 stores that order directly from them. So those 17 stores, I would love to get a list of those stores. I need to do that.
Okay. So they don't. Do they normally work through a distributor?
No. They either self-distribute or they do the Kickstarter.
Okay, gotcha.
They've been growing pretty good. This is their second year.
Yeah.
They're already going to try to start doing 2 books a month. I've already worked on another book called Crimson Sails for them, which was one of their books that they asked me to write. And going forward, I'm actually going to be their story editor. So I will be involved in all the books.
Okay, I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we're at on that book.
Okay.
It says, can they be bought online anywhere? Only the Kickstarters. I'm asking for other series I missed. I'll have to find out about that. I don't know. I'm assuming they've got some kind of like the overprint and that. Let me talk to Dustin about that. I'll have to get Dustin to come on the show one day, and we could talk to him and find out more about Ethereal and what's going on. So Dustin Burrell is the publisher over there. April Reyna is the kind of the managing partner or guy. She kind of keeps everything in order. Mm-hmm. And her and I actually worked on the kids book I did years ago called The Mysterious Monkey of the Monarch Apartments. And she did all the interior work. And now we're working on these books. And I'm like, these are definitely not kids' books.
Okay, so what is the story itself like rated? If like what age is this for?
I would say this is like an HBO series.
Okay.
It has nudity, it has violence and sex, but Game of Thrones, but not anything past that.
Okay, gotcha.
So, yeah, that's there was an Arthur series they did on one of those channels, like 15 years ago with Eva Green as Morgana.
Oh yeah,
and what's his name? Ray Fiennes, not Ralph Fiennes. The guy from Shakespeare in Love is Merlin. And that was kind of the inspiration years ago. I've had this idea to do this story for a long time.
Okay, so the idea came from you. It's not like they came to you and said, let's do an Arthurian thing. Okay.
This one's mine. Crimson Sails is their idea that I worked on. This one is 100% my idea.
Okay.
So I pitched a couple ideas, and this is the one they went, let's go with that one first.
What's Crimson Sails about? If you can say anything about that one.
Just a little bit. It hasn't been announced yet, but it's basically a pirate, a supernatural pirate story.
Okay.
So
With the title like that, I kind of was thinking or hoping that it was, pirates, unless it was spelled SALES and it was like, retail sales,
yeah, it's about the guy that sells the paraphernalia for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Right. Well, there might be a story there. We're all the hero in our own story.
That's right. All right, we're going to move on. Since Ed brought it up, he said he wants to talk about Reacher, and I did finish Reacher. Reacher season 2 has completed. Now, I don't believe, Jim, you've gotten into Reacher, have you?
I have not. I mean, I know like how many people who watch it and love it. So no.
Yeah.
I understand what it is.
I absolutely loved the second season, though there were a couple moments in the finale that were a little bit over the top.
How so?
Helicopter taking off, he jumps up, grabs the wheel of the helicopter, and pulls himself up into the helicopter.
Okay.
It's like, that's a little bit much. And then another scene in it, a gurney falls out the back with somebody on it, and he reaches out, grabs it, and is holding the gurney with the person on it as the helicopter's flying. And it's like, I get that he's strong, but that's a little incredulous.
Yeah. So what you're saying is it's sort of stretching the rules of the show.
Yeah.
You're getting into sort of like James Bond movie territory where you're suspending some disbelief, for the sake of a stunt.
Let me answer Ed's question. He says, why in the flashback was the head military guy so pissed and disbanded the 110 for finding the heroin? I must have missed something. Okay. Above him was another colonel, and that colonel was about to get promoted to general. The problem was that the heroin trafficking that they caught was taking place under that colonel's guise and would embarrass him, even though he wasn't part of it. It would look bad for him and probably stop the promotion. So the direct guy, the direct military guy, the head military guy, told them to back off, just close the case, let it go, so the colonel wouldn't get embarrassed and wouldn't, and they didn't. They went ahead and made the bust anyway. So that's why he disbanded the 110, because he basically embarrassed the colonel. So
does all of that come from the books?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've read the first season is based off of The Killing Floor, which is the very first Jack Reacher novel. The second one is based on Bad Luck and Trouble, which is the 11th novel. And the third one is going to be based, and they finally announced this, I believe it's the 7th novel. It's called Persuader. And it's going to be very different than the first two.
Do you feel like they do a good enough job of like explaining things for people who have not read the novels?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, see, one of the nice things about the novels is they're standalone in a lot of ways. Very rarely does any characters carry over. They don't reference other novels. So pretty much you could pick up any book in the series and it's going to pretty much be a good jumping in point.
Yeah. Okay.
So the 110 is one of the only things that is carried over because there are references to it. But when you come up to it in a book, they treat it like it's the first time you're hearing about it.
So in the books, is he just like always on the move? He's always moving around? Because I was going to say, otherwise it doesn't really lend itself to, if you have a base of operations, you would think that there would be, holdovers from or other characters or.
No, the point of Jack Reacher is that he spent his entire life on military bases. His father was in the military and he went into the military. His brother went into the military. So when he finally got out of the military, he decided he didn't want anybody telling him what to do, where to go. So he pretty much decided to be a vagabond. You know, he gets his check put into his account, direct deposit into his account, and he just travels. And he doesn't take any clothes with him. He basically goes to secondhand shops and picks up what he needs and throws out the last pair. He doesn't do any laundry. He only carries his passport, whatever cash he has, and his toothbrush. And that's the way he is, you know, and how he travels the world. And, you know, that's, you know, they're changing that a little bit in the series. They introduced a character in the first series named Frances Neely, and she is somebody from the 110 who has popped up in the couple books. But they brought her into this one to kind of establish a little bit of his past. She's not in the novel. Now, she is in Bad Luck and Trouble, so that she's the one carryover. And then they did write in a cameo from somebody from the first season as well. That makes sense. It worked really well in the story, but it was an addition. And now Neely is not in the third book, but they've said they are going to work her in. So she's the only other character who's going to carry over season to season.
You know, knowing Hollywood or you know, producers of TV shows and movies and everything like that, they always have to, I mean, you always have to have like romance, you know, in I mean, in the books, does he have different women in each book? Okay. Yep. So it's a James Bond kind of, you know, thing that he, you know, okay. And so how does the show handle that?
Yeah, he does that in the first season. He has one of the local cops he hooks up with. And then the second book, there is somebody from the 110 that he had always been interested in, but they never did anything because he was her boss.
Okay.
And they finally, now he wasn't her boss anymore. Okay. But neither one of them were looking for a commitment, so they went their separate ways at the end.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering, you know, how they would handle that, because I can't imagine them doing this show without having a woman, you know, in it, some kind of love interests, you know, sort of thing.
Yeah. Now, Ed brings up something that's kind of interesting. It says the Terminator reference was awesome when the guy there's a scene where Reacher and Neely check into a hotel, and they always check in under assumed names. And Reacher always checks in under the name of one of the former second basemen for the New York Yankees.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say, somebody told me about this, and it had to be you, I'm sure. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Neely checked in under the name Sarah Connor. And,
okay.
And the guy playing the bad guy is Robert Patrick from Terminator 2.
Is that right?
Yeah. So the guy says, you know, do you want me to find out who they are? And he says, I don't care who Sarah Connor is. Which is great to hear from the guy that played the Terminator. Right. But the funny thing is that joke was, or that line was written before Robert Patrick was cast.
Oh, well, they specifically, you know, hired Robert Patrick because of that line.
No, they actually had a different actor in the role, but he had to drop out because of scheduling. And they had to basically fill somebody in really quick at the end, and Robert Patrick was available.
Okay.
So they brought him in, and the showrunner even thought about changing the line. He's like, that seems kind of stupid. He says, but then at the last minute, he decided, well, I'm gonna see how Robert delivers it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say
it was absolutely perfect. it was a laugh out loud moment for me. You know?
Okay.
So other than
you gotta be careful about stuff like that, because if it's gonna take you everybody out of what's going on, you know, because it's like whatever self-referential or whatever you want to call it, then you know, maybe that's not necessarily good. But well, if it went over well, it's then perfect.
Oh yeah, it did. But yeah, other than those two moments in the finale, I absolutely loved the season. I love that they brought in Serinda Swan and my apologies, cold, Sean Sipos. Now, if you're not familiar with either of those actors, Serinda Swan played Zatanna in Smallville, and she played Medusa in The Inhumans. And Sean Sipos played.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know her from as Medusa. Yeah, okay.
And Sean Sipos played Adam Strange in the Krypton series that was on Sci-Fi for 2 seasons. Yeah. And what's funny is Sean actually is a really nice guy. I was when Krypton was on, I was covering it for Bleeding Cool, and I would tweet to him questions and stuff, and he always got back to me. He always responded. He was always very nice about things, and so I loved the fact they brought him in, and he was great as another one. Both of them were part of the 110, so hopefully they'll show up again somewhere in the series, but don't expect them to be in season 3. Persuader is the basic plot of Persuader is Reacher goes undercover to try to pull another undercover agent out of a bad situation.
Wait, who are his bosses again in this?
Reacher doesn't have any bosses at this point.
Well, who's he going undercover for?
He gets pulled into this situation by an old friend.
Okay. So he is not beholden to anyone at all. Okay.
Not a damn person.
Okay.
Yep. So he's pretty much a vagabond, like I said. Let's see. Ed says, yeah, they kind of imitated Captain America with the chopper. Yeah.
Well, that's the first thing that I thought of when you were talking about that.
Yeah, season 2 was an absolute blast. I think it opened up more. Season 1 felt very small and self-contained. Season 2 felt a lot bigger.
They may have gotten an increase in budget then.
Yeah, and this show has been the #1 streaming show on all the weeks that it was released. Even passing Young Sheldon, which has been a juggernaut on streaming. So, yeah, I know.
Like, what? Is that still being made?
Yeah, they have 1 season left.
Okay. Yeah, the way kids grow up, it's like he's probably about the age of the real guy.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. Anything you want to talk about?
Just real quick, it's something old, but actually it's both old and new if I think about it. I have finally moved into the Jon Pertwee era of Doctor Who.
Very nice.
Yes. My podcast, the Doctor's Beard podcast, we hit 1 year. We hit our 1 year anniversary, and we crammed 6 years of the show into 1 year in the real world. We finished up Patrick Troughton, and let's see. I think it's this coming Saturday. We'll release our review of Spearhead from Space, which is the very first Jon Pertwee story. So. Just a little sneak preview of that. I was amazed at how that show reinvented itself. I had no real idea, going into it, that it changes that much.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like almost like a completely different show.
Yeah, there was a lot of influence of the Avengers and James Bond on the Jon Pertwee seasons.
Yeah. I mean, literally the entire setup changes. I had a little bit of a concern, and we talk about that in the review, about how it's amazing to me that they were able to maintain that setup because it's so different. I don't know, spoiler alert, it's that the Doctor is exiled to Earth. And he can't travel through time or anything like that. And I'm saying to my podcasting partner, John Drew, like how the hell is this still Doctor Who? And again, I'm enjoying it, but it's like, this is like really off the wall as far as the 6 years that I just watched.
Yep.
But what I'm really happy to say is Jon Pertwee is really cool. I in fact, I'm liking him better than Patrick Troughton.
Pertwee is really good.
Yeah, he's fun, and he's like more active as far as moving into the plot, and wanting to do this and do that. He's also very funny. He's got a really great touch. I can see now what everybody was saying about his charm,
Yeah.
and all of that. Oh, this is so funny. But my joke is that I said, this is my very first exposure to Jon Pertwee. And in the very first episode, I think it's the first or second episode, I get a little bit more exposed to him than I ever bargained for. He has a scene in the shower, and he's literally nude. I mean, it looks like they filmed it like from behind, and they like if they dropped the camera just a tiny little bit, we'd be seeing a lot more of Jennifer. So I thought, wow, this is great. This guy really, like went all out for this part. So right now I'm actually in the middle of watching the second story, which is Doctor Who and the Silurians.
Hmm.
And not enjoying it as much as Spearhead from Space, but still, enjoying it. So the thing about new Doctor Who that I wanted to bring up was the announcement that the new companion is done.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that there was a lot of freaking out by certain factions of fans about it. And I think it's the way it's basically the news spun it into this is bad. Like, she was fired and all of that. And it seems basically like, no, she was maybe contracted to do a season or pardon me, I think it's 2 seasons, whatever it is. And then that was it. And it's like somebody was bringing up examples of how long other companions stayed. And they're like, this isn't really any different than it's kind of been
Yeah.
all along. I think the unfortunate thing is that we're learning this before we actually get the first season. And you kind of will have that in your head. Like it might work against the show to say, like, don't get too attached to her because she's not going to be there, after
Yeah.
a while. And
Well, see,
that was sad when you really should just watch it and not worry about it. But it was too bad that, like, again, a bunch of people freaked out. Oh no, the show's having problems. Ncuti Gatwa didn't like her, and they were fighting. And what's going on the show? And I think a lot of it is like all the controversies surrounding Chris Eccleston back when he first was on there, that he did not enjoy his time on the show because of the
yeah,
people.
he does not like Russell Davies.
Yeah.
He came
There's a
out and
couple
said
people who doesn't. Yep.
Yeah, he came out at a convention recently and said, somebody asked, would you go back to being Doctor Who? He says, yeah, as long as Russell Davies and about 3 other names
Yeah.
were fired, then I would come back.
Yeah. That he does things like some of the audio dramas, and he is doing conventions and things like that. But that was sad. I don't know the full situation of supposedly what the working conditions were, but again, it's kind of sad to have that. The news outlets kind of put a negative aspect on something that hasn't even started yet.
But they do it to get clicks, and it's just
we've talked about that plenty of times on this show. It just is so funny. It's like, here's me, and I'm really looking forward to it, and I start to see these headlines, and I'm like, wait, hold on a second, what? And then the more I looked into it, I saw, like, no, this is pretty much how this show does this. That these people come and go, and it was like that in the old days.
Yeah.
Too.
It was only recently that they had companions that became almost as big as the show.
Yeah. Yeah. In many ways, the show is more about the companions than the Doctor sometimes.
Yeah.
Where in the classic era, or at least where I'm at right now, it's still primarily about the Doctor. Yeah. So I had to say goodbye to Jamie and Zoe at the end of the last Troughton story was amazing. It was just kind of limping along for me, that 6th season, and then they did the War Games, and that was explosive, if you'll pardon the pun. We find out that we get the first use of the term Time Lords.
Yeah.
We get another character from who's a Time Lord, who I thought was supposed to be the Master, and I've been told that no, the War Chief is not the Master. And I'm like, well, it's a proto Master, and I'm being told, no, it's not. No, it's not. But there's a lot of people out there that I guess are still convinced that it's an earlier incarnation of the Master.
Could be, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that, I mean, it's so funny because he looks like him, and he's a renegade, Time Lord and all this other stuff. So, but we're having a lot of fun with it. And again, that's the Doctor's Beard podcast. We release new episodes every Saturday. We just released a 1960s retrospective to celebrate our year-long anniversary, where we did an overview of the entire 6 years that we had just watched. And then we also have a Patreon, which we do some really cool things with, and it's really, really cheap to sign up for our Patreon.
Very cool. So, all right, let's move into another show I finished. Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This is a new series on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And there were those movies recently that they did with Logan Lemur or whatever his name is, and Alexandria Daddario.
How many did they do?
I believe they did 2.
That's what I thought. There was at least 2, right?
Yeah. And they were all right, but I had read the books and they changed a lot. And the guys playing the kids were not really kids. It didn't feel like kids.
Mm-hmm.
This series, the casting is great. The gods who are picked are wonderful. Sadly, Zeus was Lance Reddick. It was one of the last roles he did before he passed away. So we got to see him in the finale, and now he's gone. Toby Stevens plays Poseidon, and I didn't realize until recently that Toby Stevens is Maggie Smith's son.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah, I just found out about that. But they're all good. But the kid, Walker Scoble, who plays Percy, is so freaking good. He is definitely way above his age with his
How old is he?
skills. He's 15 now, but he's 13 when they filmed it, which is the age that Percy's supposed to be.
Yeah.
He played in the Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds, the time travel thing where he's and Reynolds are the same character. And he is just, like I said, so good beyond his age that he carries the show. He can be sarcastic, he can be funny, he can be serious, and it doesn't feel like it's effort for him. It just comes across natural. And the rest of the cast is really good. Lin-Manuel Miranda pops up as Mercury or Hermes. Adam Copeland pops up as Ares, which is a great casting. They do a really good job. And Rick Riordan, the writer of the books, is one of the producers on the show. And so he's keeping them pretty much on track. There's been a few changes, and most of them were driven by Riordan. And they turned out to be improvements to the story.
Why do you think, or what do you know about why did this get a second chance relatively soon after the movies? Why, was it the
very popular book series?
Okay.
I mean, it is a hugely popular book series.
Okay.
And I think in a lot of ways, Disney was looking for their Harry Potter.
Okay.
And it kind of is, but instead of, the magic is the gods. It's Greek mythology. So.
But maybe I'm a little surprised that they didn't have concerns about being like this, the thought still being what was already made and not too long ago more or less. That would be always be compared to that.
Yeah, I think it probably will be, but it definitely is superior.
Okay.
You
Well,
know,
then I'm assuming the writer maybe pushed this forward. The writer was not happy with the movies. Is that right?
he hasn't come out and said anything directly, but yeah, it definitely could have been better.
Okay.
The movies definitely could have been better.
This is really interesting. That streaming series is the way to go. As far as like a movie is now being looked at as not enough time or space to tell a story, to tell the story of a book. So why not
Yeah.
do it as a streaming series?
Yeah. I mean, they did the first book over 8 episodes, where they tried to do the first book in a 2-hour movie before.
Yeah.
And this is going to be bad, but this is longer ago than you thought. The first movie came out in 2010.
Okay. I mean, that's what I was trying to say, but it's still within the public consciousness. I mean, there would still be like fans of the book, who would still remember it. This is the same situation that I have with the announcement that they're going to be doing Harry Potter as a series. When I mean, okay, yeah, it's been about just as long with those movies, but those movies are still considered to be Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Like the new series will always be compared to those movies. Every actor will be compared to the actor that played it in the movies, forever.
Yeah.
And those movies were popular. Those Percy Jackson movies were not that popular.
Exactly. I think that's the difference. And Adam Copeland, the wrestler, Edge. Yeah, who also played Adam Smasher in The Flash. He's Ares in this.
Okay, let me ask you this. So I'm going into my vacation, and I knew that this was released. I haven't read the books, but it seemed interesting to me. I didn't see those movies because I hadn't read the books. So I immediately sort of pushed back on it because I said, I don't know. It's like I haven't read those books. I don't know, I mean, do you feel that doesn't matter? Like anybody can just easily watch this. You don't have to have read the books, because I like Greek mythology,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good connection to Greek mythology.
Okay. So how are the effects?
They're good.
Yeah. Okay. Better than the movies?
On par.
Okay. So that's the other thing. So going back to the Harry Potter thing, the visual look of the Harry Potter movies to me still works. Like, how do you come in and redesign the Harry Potter universe all over again when honestly, like maybe the movies did it about as well as it can be done? So it's the same thing with this Percy Jackson thing. That wasn't that long ago. How do you redesign that universe, and again, not get the comparisons? In some ways it's like Rings of Power did it, where instead of trying to completely distance themselves from the Jackson movies, it more or less embraces that. And the look is just not that different. I mean, you feel like in many ways it's, honestly, like in the same universe.
I think doing the Harry Potter series is a mistake, unless they're going to do a different story.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I totally think so too. I can see Rowling saying, "Oh no, well you just said it yourself. Oh no, we have like 6 to 8 hours now to tell the story of the book." You know what? I was unhappy with a couple of the productions. Off the top of my head, Half-Blood Prince was almost gutted for the movie.
Yeah, it was.
And I was kind of unhappy with that. Things got better like at the end when they had 2 movies to cover the last book, which it really needed that, but there were some things that were taken out still, that I wasn't real happy with. So, I mean, I guess that's what she's looking at it. But because as far as I know, she was never unhappy with those movies. I think she was,
Yeah.
that was as good as you can possibly get at that time. So I can only imagine that from a storytelling point of view, now you can do everything. And in fact, maybe now you can weave in maybe a subplot or two that wasn't there in the books,
Yeah.
to begin with.
Yeah, maybe Snape gets a little bit better showing in it.
Yeah.
He has a
So
little
did
short
you,
change in the movies.
how many episodes is Percy Jackson?
8.
Okay. And that's a complete story.
Yep.
Okay. Do you feel that do you remember the first book well enough to say,
Yeah.
okay, so did they do that? Did they add in things that aren't in the book, or?
They changed a few things, like a certain battle, stuff like that. But overall, they kept it pretty straight.
Okay. All right. You know what? I have the time this week, so maybe I will.
They all have mini post-credit scenes.
Okay, thanks. That's good to know. And they're all roughly about what, 40 something minutes long?
Yep.
Okay, so standard. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll do that because I only really have Doctor Who to watch this week, so maybe I'll do that.
Let's see. Ed said, "Is the new Wonka I'm hearing about a movie or a series? Been hearing how great Wonka is. It is a movie.
Yeah.
It's been out for about 8 weeks now. It's still doing decent at the box office. It's still in the top 5, but that's because Argyle bombed this weekend. It only did 18 million, even though it's got all that cast in it.
I'm not even sure what Argyle is.
Argyle's the new Henry Cavill, Samuel L. Jackson, Sam Rockwell, Bryce Dallas Howard, Brian.
Right. Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh, a Henry Cavill movie not doing well. That's not good.
No. So
everybody's gonna jump right on it and say, see, his post Superman career is tanking already. He's typecast. He can't do anything else but Superman.
Well, he's got the trailer for the Bureau of Gentlemanly Warfare came out, and that looks awesome.
That's a sequel to League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, right?
Nope, that is the true story about the first ever Black Ops team created by Winston Churchill and Ian Fleming. No joke.
Oh, I mean, no, I'm right. You're right. I know Ian Fleming was actually involved in spy stuff. Yeah.
And it stars both Henry Cavill and Alan Ritchson from Reacher.
Oh, okay, wow.
So you got two huge guys in this movie.
So this is the stuff that Henry Cavill left Witcher to do, right?
Well, no, he's leaving. He left Witcher to do Warhammer.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the latest on that?
They finally made their agreements, and they're going to start production on Warhammer.
Okay.
So that's moving forward now.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah. But yeah, Wonka's a movie, and I've seen a bunch. I haven't seen Wonka, but I've seen a bunch of clips of it, and it looks better than I expected. I thought, why do another Wonka? Why, But Timothée Chalamet does a pretty good job. Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa is bizarre and kind of works.
That's the part I don't know about. So this is a prequel to the original.
Yeah, before he builds his factory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's got nothing to do with the Johnny Depp movie. Good.
Nope. So good. It's kind of interesting. The clips I've seen are pretty interesting. So
the next two movies that I'm planning to go see will be Dune Part 2 and Ghostbusters.
I want to see Dune Part 2. I still haven't seen the latest Ghostbusters. It hasn't popped up on any streaming service that I have.
Oh, Afterlife is that you have. Okay, I was going to say Afterlife is probably out there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure on which one.
Okay.
The Hulk Hogan movie, from what I understand, is still happening. I'm just not sure where it's at in production at this point. I'll see if I can find out for the show on Thursday. So
Who's playing Hulk Hogan?
Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, wait, that's kind of perfect, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I
a good
did
cast.
not hear that this was coming out. Are they playing it for laughs?
I don't know.
Okay. Chris Hemsworth is Hulk Hogan. Oh my God.
All right. Another show that's popped up on my radar that there's two of them. There's the new Zorro, which I gave the first episode a try. I was a little surprised by. I think it's filmed in Spanish and then dubbed into English, but the dubbing is really good. But the thing is, if you watch everything with subtitles on, the dubbing and the subtitles don't match. They mean the same thing, but they pick different words.
Oh, probably two different people or entities did that. Yeah, the subtitles are a different translation from the original Spanish, probably.
Yeah.
Oh,
But,
so it's a completely Spanish production then, huh?
yeah. Overall, I enjoyed the first episode. I don't want to give too much of a review. I want to watch more of it.
Yeah.
But if you're a fan of Ted Lasso, we start off with the Zorro played by Danny Rojas, who is this Spanish guy. It's a Spanish soccer player in Ted Lasso, full of life. So to see him as Zorro is kind of interesting. And it takes you a minute to recognize him because he has the mask on. You don't ever see him without. But he's only Zorro for the first 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then they bring in the whitest Spaniard I've ever seen in my life to be Don Diego or whatever it is, to be Zorro. I'm like, okay, but I enjoyed it. I'll talk about it more when I get a few more episodes in.
Okay, because I want to hear more about it. It sounds like they're doing it as more of he's a legacy hero.
Yeah.
Okay, that's been done before in other productions, maybe, or at least one production. That idea that he's like the Phantom, where there's been other Zorros in the past,
and it ties into the Native American tribes in that area and the spirit of the fox or the Zorro. So, but again, I want to get a few more episodes in before I talk about it. But the other show that's got my attention is on Hulu, and it's called Death and Other Details. It is a murder mystery that takes place on a cruise ship, and it stars Mandy Patinkin as the world's greatest detective, because anytime you have a detective, he has to be the world's greatest detective.
Sure.
It has Violet Bean as somebody that he had helped as a child who's now an adult. Violet Bean, you may not recognize her, but she was on The Flash as Jessie Quick, Harrison's daughter from Earth 2. And she's great in it. It's got also Raul Coley, I think his name is. He's popped up in a bunch of stuff. And it's surprisingly good. It's a murder mystery that's got so many twists that literally by the end of the first episode, I'm like, this is not the show I thought it was going to be. It is completely different. There are so many twists in the first episode alone that you're just going, your head's spinning, and it just goes from there.
Are we getting more shows or productions like this because of the success of Only Murders in the Building?
Probably Only Murders in the Building, the Kenneth Branagh, Poirot, and the Daniel Craig, Benoit Blanc movies.
Right. Wait, is this new one a period piece? I don't remember if you said.
It's not, but it feels like one because they're on a ship that's this ocean liner that's been rebuilt to look like an aged ship. So it's got a very timeless feel to it.
Okay.
So, but there's a helicopter that flies in, and it's obviously a modern helicopter, and Interpol shows up, and it's a really twisted series, and I think it's like 10 or 12 episodes long, and I'm already at a point I'm like, this could wrap up. So it's all over the place. But I'm having fun with it. And Mandy Patinkin is a lot of fun.
He's got to be kind of up there in years now.
Oh yeah, yeah. But it's like I said, the only thing is every once in a while, because it's on Hulu, but it's because it's a streamer, they can put nudity in. So every once in a while they'll have a nude scene, and it's nothing big. It's no more than like 10 seconds. But you're like, why did we have that? We didn't need it. I mean, I like breasts. Breasts are lovely. I am a big fan of breasts, but they weren't necessary at that moment. You know, we could have gone without them. You know, so.
They just wanted to be able to say that they had it, you know, and if that would pick up, you know, a couple hundred or 1,000 more viewers, then why not? You know?
Yeah, but it's a very twisty thing, and honestly, I don't know where it's going, and I love it because normally I figure murder mysteries out pretty quickly. Yeah, so for me not to know what's going on, I am all over it. So, Death and Other Details on Hulu. So
okay, is it based on a book?
What?
Is it based on a book?
I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I should. I'll have to find out.
Everything's based on a book, Dan. Come on, everything. True. Other guys are getting rich off of their books getting made into these series, and we're not.
Yep. They could option Lucius Fogg anytime they want.
Okay.
Or the Freeze.
I'm trying to get my Sergeant Janice, you know, made into a TV series. You know, I think it would be really cool, but that's just me.
So, all right, Jim, you got anything else you want to add?
No, I'm leading a relatively boring life. You know what? So I'm going into my vacation, and I'm working hard on the Bigfoot fiction anthology that I'll be putting out from Becky Books. So that's my next big project that I'm working on. We're getting closer and closer. Got all the stories. They're all edited now. I picked the story order. You know, so now it's literally just assembling the final product. The cover illustration is done. We're working on the title logo and firming up the cover. So very, very soon I'll be announcing the actual title of the book, showing the cover, and then saying who the writers are in the book. And you'll be able to see that at the Jim Beard and Becky Books page on Facebook. But really excited about that one. It's going to be something different than I think that people are expecting, because it's all kinds of Bigfoot stories. I mean, we've got like mystery and adventure and horror and humor and how many other different things. It's really going to be really fun.
Cool. So, all right, one last plug for the Morgana comic. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, please take a look. Couple more days on the Kickstarter. I would appreciate it. And I know it's the tail end, but good to see you on my screen, Dan. Jim, too. Good to see you, Jay. Ed says, we've read everything she's ever written. We wanted to capture the atmosphere of those works and drag her style into our contemporary world.
Of Agatha Christie, right?
Oh, yeah. Death and Other Details. The plot is inspired by Agatha Christie. A first look at Death and Other Details. Oh, okay.
Okay. Very, very interesting.
It does feel like an Agatha Christie one, but with extra twists.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and folks, just remember real quick about Dan's project here. If they come up with another $10,000, he has to write yet another 4 extra pages.
I don't know if that's true, but
well, you were surprised by those first extra 4 pages, so you know I thought, why not just throw in another 4 extra pages?
I know we're about $3,000 away from the next Kickstarter, the next moment. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Let me see if I can tell real quick.
You better get on board with what's going. You don't know what they're going to throw at you next if you keep going this way.
I know. I work for the company and I barely know what's going on. Um,
That's very sad. Very sad.
at 16,000, we do a mini print. At 20,000, there's a coaster, and then there's a 25 and a 30,000, which haven't been announced yet.
Okay. Oh, the mind boggles.
Yep, we're at 12,884. We're at 333 backers.
Wow.
How cool would it be to be at 666 backers?
Wow.
So, all right, guys. I am glad you tuned in. I am glad to be back. Next 2 weeks will be iffy. Jim is tied up for the next 2 weeks.
Now it's on me. Now it's on me.
The show. I may not. I'm going to talk to somebody about possibly filling in. We shall see.
Have your guy from the Ethereal, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, or I understand that Paul Story is not doing anything at all these days. He literally just sitting at home crying.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I could get Jay.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'll think about seeing if I can set somebody up for one of the next 2 weekends. So maybe back here next week, might not, but either way, Jim will be back on
the 25th.
On the 25th. So
yeah.
But we'll see what happens. Plus, it's Super Bowl weekend next weekend, so maybe I'll just come on and talk about the Super Bowl. We'll see.
Yeah, that would be one that I would definitely not want to be.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you all next time. Have a great night. Take care.